Well, folks, this is a treat. Fellow podcaster, this guy needs no introduction. You're on Rimshots with Sean Bott, brought to you by Barstools and Bandtalk, Mr. Michael Brev.
Thank you. So where do I send the check?
Well, it's funny. I this week has been my week to tell people that I owe them royalty checks because I'm a drummer, right? So somebody asked me, "Where'd you get this drum part that you play?" And I have to say, this album, this song, whatever. I feel like I'm cutting a lot of checks this week, but Mr. Brandvold, how you doing, sir?
Good. Other than, pissing off Kiss fans. Just another day.
So what a great place to start. So, I mean, obviously you have the podcast, Three Sides of the Coin, very popular podcast. And you're a self-appointed, you're a huge Kiss fan, yet you don't, you're not the boot-looking Kiss fan, right?
No. I mean, I love Kiss. They've obviously been very important into my life, but they aren't if it makes sense, they also aren't my life.
Yep.
I think as I've gotten older, and I hope everybody goes through this, as you get a family and things change, you start realizing what's truly important in life. And again, as amazing as much as I love Kiss, they're a freaking rock band.
Right.
When Kiss steps off the stage for the final time, sun's still going to rise the next day. I'm still getting up in the morning. I still got a job. I still got a family. I still got a kid. I mean, yes, Kiss has done a lot to change my life, but at the same time, my life isn't going to change because of what Kiss does.
So, you obviously praise, but you hold the task too. I mean, I've watched a number of your podcasts where you guys get on there and you cover some interesting topics. But I've said to a bunch of people, you don't quite Eddie Trunk it, and by that I mean Eddie goes on these tangents where you can clearly tell he's got an issue with Paul Stanley or whatever, and you'll listen to his show, and he just goes on for 20 minutes about whatever topic, where it's backing tracks, whatever. So you guys don't quite go there, but you do bring some stuff up from time to time that ticks people off.
Well, yeah, I mean, the reality of the podcast, and we've been doing it for over 10 years now, is it's always been, and I think this is hard for some fans to understand, it's a commentary podcast. We're not a news podcast. We aren't here providing news. We are providing our opinions on what is happening. Now, in the course of sharing opinion, yes, there's going to be news. We're going to have guests who reveal things. But we're just offering our opinions on what's going on. And it's 2, 3, 4, depending on how many co-hosts we have at an episode. It's just the four of us talking about what we each think. And at the end of the day, there's no right opinion. There's no wrong opinion. Everybody's opinion is 100% right for themselves. And that's it. And when it comes to music in general, that should always be the case. Music is a very personal thing. There literally is no right or wrong of what's a great or a bad album. People can give all the reasons they want, but there is no definition of good, bad, or otherwise. It's what do you like listening to? What makes you smile? What doesn't? I always described it as this. When you listen to some music, what doesn't make you think of fingernails across a chalkboard? I mean, there's just notes that individual people can't tolerate.
Yep.
Doesn't mean they're bad notes, wrong notes. It's just, it doesn't work for that person. So we look at Kiss the same way. It's like, we love the band and we aren't going to ever stop loving the band, but we're also, I want to say, like, we're strong enough in who we are as fans to know you can criticize what you love. That doesn't mean you don't love it. And I think that is a line a lot of diehard fans have a hard time understanding. I'm a diehard fan. I have to love everything they do. And you could replace Kiss with any band out there, Iron Maiden, you name it.
Yep.
No, you don't. God knows every single band has done something that people don't like. And there's nothing wrong for you as a fan to step up and go, I love this band, but that last song sucks. That last album was terrible. This tour could have been better. That doesn't mean you've given up on the band. It just means something wasn't right. And you can go on and still love them and still support them. A lot of fans, I get the feeling, are view it as like you're either all or nothing.
Yeah.
You're either in or you're out. And it's like, no, I got no problem. I mean, listen, to your point, we have, we say this all. If you've actually listened to Three Sides of the Coin, we have personally, individually, each of us have done a lot to criticize Kiss.
Yeah.
More so with certain members than other members. I just feel like it's a hard time criticizing Bruce Kulick. Bruce Kulick hasn't done anything to piss people off. Even Eric Singer and Tommy Thayer. Okay, you might have a problem with them in makeup, but as people and their involvement in Kiss, they haven't done anything that's really upsetting. Now, the original four, yeah, each one of them can be held to the fire for something they've said or done over their life. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. And, and I'll be the first to admit Gene is probably the guy who leads the pack in doing stuff where it's like you wake up one day going, oh, God, Gene, why did you do that? Why did you say that? Paul, less so, but he's still done stuff. I mean, they're humans. They're all going to do stuff that is going to be bad. So, we will always love all of the band, but we will always be open to sharing our personal opinion that we didn't like something. And that is the moment it triggers these fans who are like, either you're all in or you're all out.
Yeah. Well, and I always say to guests, I want to ask a question that you haven't been asked 1,000 times. I fear I'm going to do this, that I'm going to ask you that something that you've been asked 1,000 times. But in the course of your 10 years on there, and you hold them to task and say different things and bring up different topics, have they ever in any way reached out to you or I don't want to say threaten, that's not the right word, but how dare you do that? They've totally avoided you?
Never. And listen, we know that at any given episode, it could be listened to by any of the guys in the band.
Right.
We've known that over the years. They've never reached out and said, don't do that again. No, that's wrong. Do they think that? Maybe, but they've never reached out to us. And, from the get-go of the podcast, we also approached it from the standpoint of, we aren't doing this to get their attention. We aren't doing this to make them aware of who we are. We aren't doing this so we can get concert tickets. We aren't doing this to get into the Kiss family, into the Kiss world. Listen, I work as close as you can work with Gene and Paul for many years, building their website, being on the road with them. I've been to plenty of shows. That's not what drives me to do this. Same with Mark, same with Tommy, same with Lisa. They've known these guys on and off personally. So we literally are only doing this because we want to talk about what we think of Kiss. And we feel like if you can't be honest, what's the point of doing a podcast? I mean, you may not like what we say, but I can assure you everything we say is 100% honest for our opinions. And that's what drives people nuts. I mean, here, I'll bring it up. The hot topic is Paul Stanley lip syncing. Is he using backing tracks? Dude, I mean, honest to God, serious truth here. I don't give a crap. It means nothing to me. If it means something to somebody else, Good. Great for you. I'm not diminishing how important it is to you. But the fact that somebody gets upset because I'm not upset,
Yeah.
why do you live your life worrying about what somebody else is liking or disliking? You know, if he wants to use that, feels he needs to use that, it's his band, it's his career. Do what you want to do. And if it bothers you, here's what we've always said from day one. You got one means to voice your opinion with Kiss or any other band out there. You vote with your wallet. That's it. Posting a comment on a Facebook page isn't going to change anything. Starting a Facebook group isn't going to change anything. Creating videos revealing the truth isn't going to change anything. The only thing that's going to change anything with any band, frankly, any business on the planet, you vote with your wallet. If you don't like it, you don't buy it. If enough people don't buy it, guess what? Things are going to change.
It's interesting because in my neck of the woods, and I'm way out in Halifax, Nova Scotia, the east coast of Canada, Guns N' Roses is going to be playing about 3 hours away from here. And when they announced the ticket prices, the cheapest ticket was about $600 Canadian, which is, I don't know, buck 50 American if you do the conversion. It's a good deal. Right. That being said, everybody was up in arms. Oh my God, I cannot believe the ticket prices. Oh, but I got two. So now they're driving 3 hours to the show. They're driving, they're paying. It's a $2,000 concert for them, and you just nailed it. If they voted with their wallet, that would probably change, but they didn't, right? They got to see Guns N' Roses.
Exactly. So, and here's what it comes down to. You go online and scream about how terrible ticket prices are and how expensive it is and how the set list might be terrible and how somebody isn't like they were 40 years ago. And then you buy a ticket, you've just negated everything you've said online.
Yep.
Because if that show is sold out, the comments don't freaking matter. If the people walking out of the show who spent their money go, I loved it, that's it. That's the final verdict right there. People spent their money, sold out a show, commented how much it was a great time to go to. Your comment saying you will never do this again because of how bad ticket prices are or because there's backing tracks or, dude, go buy a concert T-shirt. You're voting. I mean, and to back this up, I will illustrate. Back in 2008, and we hadn't started the podcast yet. I had gotten so tired of Kiss in concert, partially because I'd seen them so many times when I was working with them, but it was the identical set list. It was the identical stage. It was the identical stage show. It was nothing changed from the beginning of the farewell tour to like the last show I saw in 2007. And I took my wife, who was then my girlfriend at that time, to a Kiss show nearby. I thought, hey, what a cool way to impress her on a date. I'm getting free tickets. We're going backstage. We're meeting the band. We're getting photos. And I kid you not, after the main set ended, I looked at her and I said, let's get out of here. I want to beat traffic. That was the first time, and my first Kiss concert was the Creatures of the Night tour. And I'd seen every tour, every possible performance and appearance from Creatures of the Night through 2007. It's the first time I said, let's get out of the show early. I don't need to see this. I know exactly what's going to happen. I got so bored that, and I was telling people online, I am not going to another Kiss show until things change. Mm-hmm. You can go. I'm not saying everybody else should stop. I said, listen, because I had people like, wow, you think that? Should I go? Should I take my kid to his first Kiss show? I'm like, absolutely, take your first kid. They'll have a blast. For me, in my particular case, it wore me out. I was done. So from 2008 to 2014, the Vegas residency, I didn't go to a single Kiss show. I voted with my wallet. I told people I didn't want to go until things changed. I had also been saying back then, boy, because it's starting with the Sonic Boom tour, boy, Paul's voice is starting to sound a little rough. And I'm like, I don't want my last Kiss concert to have me walk out of there going, oh, he sounded terrible.
Yep.
What a bad memory to end my final Kiss concert. But by 2014, the stage for the Vegas residency was a different stage show. The set list had changed up enough that I was like, okay, it's okay. And I felt like Paul's voice was a little better. So I went and I had a great time. And I think since 2014, I've probably only I saw them in 2017 and I saw them on the End of the Road once. And listen, I walked out of the End of the Road tour going, I had a blast. I had a great time. I didn't leave going, oh my God, his vocals suck. If he was using backing tracks to improve it, thank you. You made me as a fan leave going, that was a great memory. I had a great absolute memory for what could be my final Kiss show. Yep. I'm not going to any of these upcoming shows. I have no interest in that. I mean, honestly, because I firmly believe there's going to be a Vegas residency.
Yeah.
I mean, any Kiss fan who's paid attention to what's been said, they've always said this is the end of Kiss doing formal long haul tours, but residencies and one-off shows can still happen. So are these two Madison Square Gardens the final Kiss shows ever? I'm absolutely betting with a lot of confidence they are not the final shows ever. They're the final shows of the final tour, and they might be the final shows ever at Madison Square Garden. But, if they go back to Vegas and do a residency, I got no problem going back and having a great time. I'm to the point where if I'm going to spend that kind of money on a show, what you're talking about, Guns N' Roses, the ticket prices, the travel costs, I damn well want to leave going, I was entertained and I had a great time.
Amen.
And if Kiss or any other band feels like in order to deliver that, they have to do things in concert, that's their decision. I got no problem with that. I'm not out here to try and change the world and change the mind of the Kiss Army. To me, I look at that as that's a waste of your life. I mean, seriously, dude, that's what's important for you to do. I mean, if that's what you want to do, go for it. But for me, there's just a lot more important stuff in life. I mean, the fact that any artist is using backing tracks has zero impact on my life. None whatsoever. It impacts their lives because they're the artists. But me, I'm going to go home and sleep just fine that night. I'm going to wake up the next morning and have a blast with my daughter. I mean,
what I don't get, Michael, is and especially on websites like Blabbermouth, it seems like every second article now is about backing tracks, and it's like, I'm a drummer, right? I play with backing tracks. It's a skill set that is not easy to do. And if you think you're cheating, try playing the backing tracks, and it's not easy, right? To your point, if it makes the show better, let's face it, Paul's 70 years old, man.
Well, that's the other thing. Paul Stanley and many of these bands never had a thought 40, 50 years ago.
Right.
They could still be doing this. And let's be honest, Kiss could continue to do this for decades more if their bodies weren't giving out on them. I mean, as we know, I say this so many times, Paul Stanley has literally destroyed his body to entertain us.
That's a fair statement.
He has, in order to give us a great show, he's replaced hips, knees, shoulders, rotator cuffs, you name it. He's done it all. He doesn't have to. He could have walked away from this decades ago and been quite comfortable quite happy, but he loves it. He wants to entertain us. All I can say is thank you. Thank you. I mean, you freaking destroyed your body. Do we understand just how much pain and agony, even after having all of these repairs made, that he probably still is trying to get up in the morning, trying to, dude, you're right. The guy's over 70 years old. I mean, they never thought they'd be doing this longer than 5 years. And not just Kiss, but every one of these classic bands we love, they're in a position where their fans and their audience are like, yeah, we'll keep coming. And the band's like, shit, I can't get off the tour bus. I can't get out of bed in the morning. It can be so painful. Nobody understands how to deal with that. There's no looking back at the last generations of bands and going, well, this is how this band overcame that. No, all these bands, it's breaking new ground. Vocal cords are a muscle like any other muscle. They lose their strength over time. Some artists hold up better, some don't, but it's a muscle that's going to get weaker and weaker and weaker. Album productions get fancier and fancier and fancier. You're a musician, you're in the studio. It's like, oh, let's add a little key here. Let's add a little violin to this. Let's make this. And, the song ends up sounding amazing. Yep. And then you're like, well, shit, how do we recreate that in concert? Because if we don't create all of that atmospheric sound, it's a different song. And the fans are going to be like, oh, well, that song was kind of lame in concert because it didn't have the orchestra behind it. It didn't have all the background singers. Okay, well, we can't bring all of that on tour with us. So what do? You use background tracks to throw in keyboards, background vocals. Maybe the band members themselves are not the best singers, and the lead singer sang all the background to his own lead vocals. Mm-hmm. Well, how do you sing background to yourself live in concert? You can't.
Nope.
That's what a backing track is for.
That's right. And I mean, up until, I think when I first started listening to, Kiss Alive 2, when I was, however old it was, I was convinced that they carried a 50-piece orchestra around so Peter Criss could sing Beth. But that was a backing track that he was singing to. Right?
Exactly. Peter Criss has always sang to a backing track when he came out there. It's the hot topic right now, as you said. It's the clickbait button that gets people fired up. Yep. But I think at the end of the day, what most musicians are actually finding out is the vast majority of fans it's not that big of a deal to them. Is that and I'm not saying that's right or wrong.
No, you're bang on.
But at the end of the day, the decision always falls to the fan to say, I'm going to buy this ticket and go to the show, or I'm not. That's it.
I'm going to say 70-30. This interview winds up on Blabbermouth because we both talked about backing tracks, and that's all I'm saying on the topic going forward.
Listen, you're probably right, and I can tell you that it will piss people off that I've got an attitude of doesn't bother me, and they'll be like, how can it not bother you? And then they will try and spend hours convincing me otherwise. And it's like, dude, you talk all you want. It's just not that important to me. Don't even get started on the lip syncing, because the vast majority of these people don't even know the difference between lip syncing and backing tracks. Oh, they're right. Not the same. A backing track is not lip syncing.
That's right. 100%. My take on it is this, and I mean, as a musician who knows what it's like to play with backing tracks, I've got a respect for it because it's a skill set, and you got to learn. Very few people are good at it right out of the gate. So for me, it's easy to criticize something that maybe you don't understand or you can't do.
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly. I mean, as far as I know, and listen, I don't dive into all of this. I don't know of another Milli Vanilli situation that's going on out there. And let's be clear, Milli Vanilli was 100% lip syncing, and they were lip syncing not even to their own vocals.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing, people. Milli Vanilli was caught red-handed with an album that they didn't even sing on. It was a completely different lead vocalist that sung that album. Then Milli Vanilli, the artist, went out on stage and lip synced to that track. I mean, there's so much wrong with that. That 100%. That wasn't cool. That wasn't cool. I mean, to the musicians who actually recorded the album and never got credit for it. Let's start right there. But if any musician needs to go out there and needs some supplemental backing track support, they feel like they need it to get to deliver the show, great. Do what they want. It's their decision. It's not my decision. It's not my job to convince the world what's right and wrong, because it's again, it's each of our personal opinions of what's right or wrong. And you know, I mean, here's how I end this. If it is really important to somebody, there's actually a right and a wrong way to make a cause out of this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, spending all day reviewing YouTube videos and catching somebody doing something, that's not going to change a damn thing.
Right.
You know, you really want to make change? Look what happened with Ticketmaster and the Taylor Swift ticket fiasco. That ended up in a hearing in front of Congress investigating what was going on. So if backing tracks are an issue, maybe you need to actually reach out to your local government representative and explain to them that, you know, this is misleading or whatever it is. And maybe they'll get something put on a ticket that says, by the way, there may or may not be backing tracks at this concert. But okay, great. You know, if you read that on a ticket, you've already bought the ticket. So what's the freaking point?
Right.
But I guess the point is, there is a professional way. If you really believe in this cause and you want to move this cause forward, make a case. Make a case that this needs to be investigated and that laws need to be put in place. Is it going to be easy? No. And I can guarantee you the vast majority of the trolls online have no patience to do it the right way. They just want to sit back, go, boy, I just watched this YouTube video. Great. A freaking YouTube video shot through a cell phone camera is your evidence?
Yeah. Oh, listen, you know, I know doing shows and you see the cell phone up and, you know, your either awesome version of a song or every one of your mistakes is usually posted online before you're even done playing your show. That's the way it goes. And, you know, people just want to be there. A question that I have, and we're just going to roll. We're going to leave it up to my editor to take care of this because we're on a roll here. So do you, when you're doing the podcast, is it a planned out thing? Like, so you guys kind of confer and whatnot beforehand, or is it spontaneous and you just kind of roll with whatever happens? Because I'm going to throw something out there and just see where it goes. I was a huge Eric Carr fan, right? So I got into Kiss actually when Eric Carr was in the band. Loved Peter Criss, but I was a huge Eric Carr fan. I've read some things about his treatment, and you know, he didn't really get paid a whole lot or whatever. So that would be a topic that if I was on your podcast, might bring up. But are you spontaneous, or you plan it out, or is it a little of both?
It's 100% spontaneous. So, you know, here, I'll use the current episode that's got people all freaking in an uproar, where we talked to the assistant engineer at Electric Lady Studios, who revealed all on his own that Bob Kulick played some notes on Kiss Alive. Now, complete news to Kiss fans. Listen, first of all, as Kiss fans, we know Kiss Alive was all redone in the studio.
Right.
Not shocking. We also know Bob Kulick has been involved in being a ghost musician for Kiss since what we knew was Kiss Alive 2. But we even know on Destroyer that on Sweet Pain, that's not Ace Frehley. That's a different performer. But we went into it with, we would confirm the guest, we confirm the assistant engineer. I do a little bit of advance, like, okay, who is this guy? Is he truly somebody who's worked on stuff? And I checked out his Discogs page to see what albums he's worked on. I had another person vouch for him and say, yeah, you definitely want to talk to him. Great. Okay, here we go. Mark, Tommy, we got this guy coming in. He worked on the Kiss debut album, Dressed to Kill and Kiss Alive. And he worked at Electric Lady Studio. Boom. That's it. No advanced questions. No pre-interview with the guest. No show prep. Nothing. Because what I actually hate as an interviewer are interviews where you can tell the interviewer is just following their preset question plan. Mm-hmm. They're not even really paying attention to the answers. They're just waiting for the next break so they can jump to the next question on their notepad. And it's like, no, I hate that. I absolutely hate interviews like that. I like to let the answers drive the interview, because the vast majority of the time, an answer is going to drop a little nugget that you would have never knew about, never planned to ask about, but it's brought up. So our guest that we just had on, Frankie D'Augusta, assistant engineer who worked at Electric Lady on those 3 Kiss albums. He also worked on Frampton Comes Alive. And many, you worked with Patti Smith. He's worked on a lot of, he's legit when it comes to an engineer. We just start talking. Out of the blue, he mentions to us, oh yeah, and Bob Kulick played on some of Kiss Alive.
You guys must have felt like you get the scoop of...
Dude, I remember the 3 of us were like, what did you just say? Yeah, Bob Kulick played a little bit on Kiss Alive. And we were like, and at that moment, we all knew, okay, this was the nugget that we didn't even know about that now we have to dig into. We were like, are you sure you didn't mean Kiss Alive 2? Because we know he was on side 4 of Kiss Alive 2. Oh, no, I didn't work on that live album. I only worked on Kiss Alive. Okay, but you're 100% sure? There couldn't be any confusion? Nope, 100%. I know it was Bob Kulick. And then on his own, he starts volunteering, because Bob Kulick was a fixture, and I'm paraphrasing. Bob Kulick was a fixture at Electric Lady Studios back then in the 70s. He was there all the time. He was the go-to guy that the studio would use just for this sort of stuff. We need somebody to punch in a note, drop in something, do an overdub, to anything more than that. But he was the guy, because they were like, he was easy to work with. He was professional. He was great. He got along. He understood. Tons of praise. So we were like, holy cow. We didn't prod for that response. We didn't fish for that response. It just came out on its own, because we were having a conversation with an engineer. And we immediately knew, boy, heads are going to explode when we learn this. This puts a ghost musician earlier than we ever thought in the world of Kiss. Now, granted, he also was very clear, because I said, do you remember what songs? Did he do songs? Did he do solos? He goes like, no. This clearly, he goes, I challenge anybody to listen and figure out where it's Bob. Because it was literally, Bob, I need you to play 1 note. Bob, I need you to play 2 notes to fix this. And as a musician, that happens all the time. It's much easier today when you've got, Pro Tools, because a lot of times you can go back and find the note you want and just copy it and move it to another section. Back in the mid 70s, that didn't exist. Yep. You had to have somebody come in, sit down, pick up a guitar, play the A chord, and go, perfect. That's all I needed. We needed to clean up that little bit at the beginning of a song. So it was like, okay, well, it's not quite as groundbreaking as he replaced Ace on the whole album, but he dropped in notes. And holy cow, did this open up an uproar in the Kiss Army. Surprisingly, so many fans refusing to believe it, not wanting to believe it.
It's like
not
you guys
wanting
get, it's like you guys get video of the shooter on the grassy knoll.
Well, sort of. I mean, we just recorded next week's episode, and in the follow-up episode, I'm like, it's not like we were the first ones to literally just reveal that all of Kiss Alive was done in the studio.
Right.
If that hadn't been known and we just revealed that this magnificent live album is all studio work, yeah, I could totally understand people wanting to deny that. No, 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 no. That's the reaction we were getting. I didn't expect that because we all know Kiss Alive, other than the drum tracks being live, everything else on that was redone in the studio. Vocals, bass, guitar, rhythm guitar, lead guitar was all fixed up in the studio to create that package to illustrate what Kiss was like.
So, Mr. Brandvold, I could do this with you all night. I'm a pretty big podcast. You're a much bigger podcast, so I'm still on the free Zoom, and I've got about, 50 seconds, and I don't want to cut you off. But what I would like you to do is tell my viewers how they find you, because, everybody knows you, but I want them to know. And I got about, say, 50 seconds.
3sidesofthecoin.com. That's where you're going to find the Kiss podcast. Michael Brandvold, BRANDVOLD.com. That's where you find my music marketing business. I work with many bands. You'll find information about my music business podcast, the Music Biz Weekly, on there. I'm everywhere. I'm on all social media. You can easily find me.
Sir, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate
Awesome.
your time.
Awesome.
Peace out, my friend.
Thank you.